Hi there, Rivers here. You know, names are a big deal. Um, Queenie and I have had a lot of fun over the years as we've been anticipating and winnowing down names and coming up with the right name for the right child. And I think we've done a really good job. But I just wanted to tell you about how we came up with Uncle Winston's first name. We were kind of stumped. This is back in a time when you didn't typically go find out whether it was a boy or a girl. You just waited until the baby was delivered, and then using marvelous powers of observation, you figured out, oh, yeah, it's a girl, or yeah, it's a boy. I'm particularly skilled at this. Very proud of it. Just joking. But at any rate, we were kind of stumped. We didn't know whether it was going to be a boy or a girl, and Winston's our fourth child. We had a girl's name picked out, and we didn't know what we were going to do for the boy's name. So we were lying in bed, the light was on, and we were both reading, and I received a jolt of inspiration from this book, The Last Lion. And I was reading it, and Winston Churchill has always been a huge hero of mine. And I was reading this book, loved it, and I looked over at Queenie and I said, how about Winston? And she goes, yeah, I can get behind that. Hence, we have Winston. So that's the story behind Winston. Now, let me tell you the quick story behind one Bradford Lewis Harris, how we came up with his name. Well, as I've told you before, my dad, Lewis Arwell Harris, he hated that middle name, by the way. But at any rate, he's like my great hero. I love my dad, and he was just a wonderful, incredibly interesting person. Loved him to death. And Laurie and I, growing up, we thought that our parents' names, Lou and June, were old-fashioned and stodgy and stuffy. And so Laurie and I came up with the grand idea that we were going to rename my parents from Lou and June to Brad and Liz. Well, my parents had really great senses of humor, and they thought this was pretty funny. And so they gladly took on these new names, and a lot of my friends and Laurie's friends would call them Brad and Liz over the years. Fast forward, and what was an old-fashioned and kind of crazy name, Lewis, is suddenly back in vogue. And in fact, I have two wonderful grandsons named Lewis, and they're named after my grandfather, or my dad. So here's the deal. When Jean was pregnant with Brad, and when we found out that he was a boy, I wanted to name him after my dad. But I didn't want to call him Lewis Arwell Harris. My dad hated that middle name, as I told you. It was the name of his uncle, who I don't think put any effort into being a fun uncle. In fact, I think he was kind of had a board up his butt. And my dad didn't like him and wasn't treated well in some instances. And so he just hated that name. But so we decided, Mom and I, that I wanted to honor my dad by naming my first son Bradford Lewis Harris. Hence, Bradford Lewis Harris. And Lewis has become sort of a really cool name. and much more popular than it was back when Laurie and I decided to change my mom and dad's name to Brad and Liz. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.